Boker Tov, good morning. Today is Friday, August 25th, Erev Shabbat, Parshat Ki Tetze, coming to you from vacation, but there's not a vacation from Torah, so I'm glad I can share some Torah with you. Earlier this week, I went with some of my children, including Shira and her family, to the land of make-believe in Hope, New Jersey, a wonderfully named amusement park for children, the land of make-believe, where in 1954, the only make-believe people apparently had was piracy, because the theme of the park is pirates, and maybe the piracy includes the fact that they won't allow you to use MasterCard or Visa to get into the place, in person at least, or around the amusement park. We ran out of cash just to buy ice cream. But that's the make-believe that we have. What else is make-believe about this place? Our kids were kind of joking. Whenever we had any, was any discord for a moment between Susie and me in the drive over whatever, it was we kind of joking around like, please take us to the land of make-believe where everything is good and everything is perfect. Well, it turns out that not everything is good and not everything is perfect in the land of make-believe, because it's very interesting to observe when you go to such a place, any amusement park for that matter, just to stop and people watch a little bit and to watch parents in action. Watch parents in action. And kids in action for that matter also. And this is a pretty good place. And parents are pretty good at this amusement park. Not as bad as I've watched parenting happen or kids behave in other places, which allows me to first refer to the parsha, and then we'll come back. The Torah tells us in the beginning of Parshat Ki Tetze that when you have a ben sorer moreh who does not listen, einenu shomea b'kol aviv v'kol imo, and does not listen to the voice of his father and the voice of his mother, v'yisru otov lishma leihem, they try to give him direction, musar and direction, but lo yishma leihem, he won't listen to them, and then they grab him, b'tafsu bo imo, his mother and his father grab him, and they bring him to the ziknei ha'ir, to the elders, to the court, and they say to the court, B'neinu zeh sorer moreh, this child of ours, he is indeed, he's off the path, and he is rebellious. Einenu shomea b'koleinu, he won't listen to our voice. Zolel b'sovei, he is out of control with gluttony and theft, the Chazal say as well, and then he's put to death. Pretty harsh thing that parents should actually bring him to the Beit Din, knowing this is going to be what might emerge is really strange. And they put him to death. So and the sages say he's put to death al shem sofo, because of what they know is going to be the ultimate outcome of this wild, rebellious child, all manner of terrible things that he will be doing based on what we see him doing now. At the same time, the sages recognize that, at least in one opinion that's offered in the Gemara, is that lo haya v'lo yiyeh, it would never really happen. It never could happen. Why? I'll read you actually the phrase of the sages. Lo atid lihiyot, right? Lo haya v'lo atid lihiyot, it never was and it will never be. And why do we have this? Just so we can learn lessons from it. At least that's this reading of the Gemara. The others gave testimony that they saw this happen. But why do they conclude that it never was and it would never come to be? Because of these really impossible criteria that the sages put into place in reading the text, that about how the parents grab him, how the parents say he didn't listen to our voice. So the parents have to be fully aligned. They have to be physically similar. They have to be fitting for one another. The voice has to be the same. And what do you kind of really note, along with these, these impossible criteria the sages set up, so that this never will actually happen, because they're uncomfortable with putting this, a child to death in this way. It's really, they can't imagine the Torah really wanted it, and so they just say it's meant to be here for us to learn lessons. So what lessons are we to learn? And the lessons have to do with the voice of the parents and the stature of the parents and the way the parents are in line or in sync or not. And so when parents say he doesn't listen to our voices have to be similar. What does that mean? Not just the timbre of their voice has to be the same, which apparently the insistence is, but they have to be sending the same message to their children. The parenting has to be in sync. Because when it's not, how can you blame a child for how the child behaves if they're not hearing the same teaching from the mother as the father, or the vice versa? When they're not being signaled in any manner, shape, or form about how to behave and how to be in life, that is a shared set of values. If it's all over the place or if it's divergent, then the only person to blame is the mother and the father, not the child. And here they are schlepping a child to the Beit Din. And the Beit Din should stop paying attention to the child and should start paying attention to mom and dad and say, shame on you, or get your act together. Learn how to speak in one voice to your child. And that's where as I describe what it means, and you probably have had similar experiences. You go to the amusement park or the mall on the rainy days, and you watch parents with their children, and you watch parents who are good with their children, and you watch parents who just are it's crazy stuff in public. Things they say in anger and under stress, yes, but in public, in front of other people, horrible things to children that are trying to have their children are acting out, absolutely, but they're threatening them in ways which are unhelpful to their child. I don't need to give the list of the poor quality parenting that can happen. And if that's the case, we're not blaming the kids, folks. We're blaming the parents. And then we stop blaming and just feel sad because, as I observe, how much can I do? I think nobody lifted a hand. And as I said, the land of make-believe is pretty good. Most of what we watched was sweet and nice and good, but every once in a while you just watch this, the parent who's under their own stress, as I mentioned, saying things that are just cruel, that have no chance of eliciting something good in a child. And certainly when one parent's saying one thing and another parent's acting the other way, that's where you learn to step back and say, the work has to happen here in a real sense, in what it means to have real direction and real parenting and shared values, all of that. The land of make-believe, my kids were joking around, as I said, when we come on in, please just take me to a perfect place. You learn to realize where the work has to happen. And good parenting, and good grandparenting, where it will lead, and where, unfortunately, if it's not there, it won't lead. That's a good vacation lesson that I think we all reflect upon. Let's not only have it in the land of make-believe, in the land of reality too. That we're being told is Drosh v'Kabel Schar. Why is this text written for us? That we should draw lessons from it and receive reward, not for Talmud Torah, but for the lessons and learn how to really be the quality guides for our children or our grandchildren. That we are, or those who are, if we don't have children or grandchildren, we haven't been blessed that way, the other people in our lives that we can have the positive influence on, indeed. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom.